Hello, I'm Rachel. Welcome to Slow Fashion Mom. Today I wanted to talk about what is slow fashion. I've had a few requests from viewers to make a video about this, and I know when I'm just talking to people in general, lots of people aren't familiar with the term slow fashion, so I thought I would explain what all of that means to me today. So first of all, I just want to reference a few great resources that really dig deep into fast fashion and slow fashion, so I will link all of those down below. The first thing I want to recommend is a documentary called The True Cost. It really goes into what happens in the fast fashion industry and how our clothes are made and how it affects the environment and the people making the clothes. And I highly recommend this movie for anyone who buys clothes. So really, I think everyone needs to see this movie. And you can find it on Netflix or iTunes. And I know seeing this documentary really opened my eyes to the fashion industry and clothing, and it really was one of the major turning points in my change to slow fashion. Another great resource is a book. It's called Overdressed, The Shockingly High Cost of Cheap Fashion. It's by Elizabeth Klein, and if you prefer reading, it's a great resource as well that just kind of goes over the history of clothing and how it's changed. So I'd also highly recommend that book. I'm just going to go over a few facts really quickly. I could talk about this for hours, but if you want more information or to learn more facts, check out that documentary, The True Cost, and the book, and you can learn more. Even 15 or 20 years ago, most clothes were still made locally. I'm in Canada, so locally kind of means North America to me. So most of our clothing was made here, and now only 3% of our clothes are made locally. So basically in the fashion industry, there used to be only 2 collections a year, the fall winter and the spring summer. And the term fast fashion kind of refers to the speeding up of this production schedule. And you know, you have the huge retailers like H&M and Zara, Joe Fresh, any store you can find at a mall. They now produce trends. They have new styles in the store every 2 weeks. There's been a massive increase in the amount of clothes coming into the stores, and also the price of clothes has been dropping at the same time. So kind of because of this cheap clothing, fast trends turning over, clothing is kind of now seen as disposable, I think. I've read a couple of different stats that Americans purchase 70 items of clothing a year. And for each person, there's 68 pounds of textile waste a year. So just clothing that's thrown in the garbage. So by seeing the True Cost documentary and reading some different books about the fast fashion industry are what got me really concerned about the people who make the clothes in the environment. I think we can all imagine with such a fast production schedule and thousands of items of clothing being made, the workers' rights and safety considerations are not taken into consideration at all. It's all about who can make the clothing the fastest. And you see disasters such as the Rana Plaza factory disaster in 2013, where a factory in Bangladesh collapsed and killed over 1,100 people. So you have big tragedies like this taking place. And also there's a huge toll on the environment that happens with such a mass production and mass consumption of clothing. Apparently the fashion industry is the second largest polluter in the world, second only to oil. And when you dive into it and learn how clothing is made, it's really crazy to see what's happening to the environment, especially in these developing countries where our clothes are made. It takes 700 gallons of water to make one t-shirt. This is basically the water used in growing the cotton. There's also a ton of pesticides, and when the fabric is turned into clothing, all the different dyes and everything that they use are really toxic. So there's a really big negative impact on the environment making our clothes, and then because we are just consuming so many clothes every year, there's a ton of waste. I always donate my used clothing, and I know I was shocked to find out that only 10% of the clothes that we donate to thrift stores or charity shops are actually sold here. the majority of our used clothing ends up being shipped overseas to places like Africa, Haiti, and it kind of floods the market there. It demolishes their local clothing industries and often ends up in landfills. For me, I have a background in fashion and costume. Before I had kids, my career job was a seamstress. I used to make costumes for theater, dance, and film industries. I went to school for costume studies, and basically that's what we did, is learned how to make every kind of clothing from scratch. Handmade, slow made, how to make things well. So based on my background and my experience as a seamstress and learning how the fast fashion industry works, I knew I wanted to change the way I shop. You know, if I can buy a t-shirt here for $7 that has been made overseas and literally shipped across the world, when you think about that, someone's definitely losing out. So slow fashion to me is just basically being conscious about what you buy, shopping less, buying quality items that will last for years instead of cheap clothing that falls apart after a few wears, and buying from brands that treat their workers fairly and have safe conditions. So I've become really passionate about this in, I'd say, the past year. I do everything in my power to not shop from fast fashion brands, and I think it's really easy to kind of change your shopping habits. It always seems overwhelming at first, but now I'll talk about a few ways you can do that. So the first thing we can all do to have a more sustainable and ethical closet are to shop less. So take care of the clothes you already own, repair or mend items that are in your closet that maybe before you would have just donated, gotten rid of. Can you fix it or take it to a tailor to have it mended? And when you do shop, before you buy something, really think about, is this a good quality item? Do I love it? How long will I wear it for? And will it last for years? Another great way to have a more ethical closet is to shop secondhand or vintage. The secondhand shops and vintage shops are a gold mine, I find. You can find amazing brands. Sometimes you can find brand new pieces with tags. I buy most of our family's clothing secondhand, and I'm always impressed that I can find really high quality clothing for a great price tag, and it's also eco-friendly. And the last thing you can do is buy from ethical and sustainable fashion designers. And yes, this option is pricier than buying something from H&M, for example, but usually these designers are using high quality natural fabrics, and they're made locally and they're made well, so they will last you for years. So I hope this video kind of quickly explained what slow fashion is, and I feel and I'm hopeful that this is a huge movement that continues to grow and continues to gain steam, and you know, hopefully eventually all of our clothing will be made in fair conditions, safe conditions, out of natural fabrics that last. I do find on Instagram, I seem to find new brands popping up every day that are either fair trade, local, organic fabric, natural fabric, all of that. Anyways, I hope this helped. I hope it answered some questions. If you've got any more questions, leave me a comment down below. If you've got any great books for me or other documentaries on slow fashion, I'd love to hear about them. I'm going to link down below all of the resources I can think about. I know I didn't talk about Project Just or Fashion Revolution, but Project Just is an amazing website. They look into major brands and kind of do the work for you to see if they're ethical or not and how their clothing is made. So if you'd like more information, definitely check those all out down below. Thank you so much for watching today. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it and subscribe to see more. And I will see you next week. Bye.